Welcome to the very first episode of Pickle Insights, Life Unlocked, the podcast that combines the world of tech and well-being with a sprinkle of humor and a dash of wit. We are thrilled to have you with us today as we dive into the fascinating world where tech meets health, where pixels and your pulse rate collide.
The podcast came into life in a very casual setting after a game of badminton, no less. Some would say it was a smash hit of an idea. We were grabbing a meal after the game of badminton, discussing our experience and wondering how we could bring our combined knowledge and worldviews together. And here we are, ready to explore the world of tech and health with you. So I guess the big question here is, who the heck are we? Are we tech geeks, health gurus, or just two guys with too many opinions?
I'm Dr. Priyank Gupta, your friendly neighborhood GP here in Melbourne. I see everything from minor colds to managing chronic conditions. And let me tell you, every day is a new episode in the world of health. I'm excited to bring my documented knowledge of these discussions. See what I did there?
I did indeed. And I'm Pratik, a software engineer by qualification, but a full time technocrat who spends his days behind screens solving problems with code. I'm here to add some digital flavor to the conversation and show how tech is changing, especially when it comes to healthcare. Now that you know us, let's answer the big question: what is Pickle Insights all about? Are we just going to talk about gadgets all day?
Not just gadgets, my friends. So, this podcast is to share both the medical and tech perspectives on the challenges we face every day. Think of it like a tag team of brains, one's looking on the body and mind, and the other's looking at devices keeping track of that body. We thought it would be amazing to mix the medical and tech perspectives, but there's a spoiler alert. It's actually way messier than it sounds.
Exactly. But just so we are clear, any information shared in this podcast is not medical advice. You should check with your physician before making any changes. We are just two guys chatting about how technology and healthcare intersect and how sometimes they crash into each other like an Uber and a bicycle.
So, whether you're a health professional, a tech enthusiast, or just someone who's curious about how data is changing your life, welcome to the ride. Buckle up. It's going to be lots of fun.
All right. So today's topic is a big one. We are going to talk about smartwatches, and we will explore what is their potential impact, positive and negative, and how wearable tech is affecting our physical and mental well-being. We'll also break down what the World Health Organization has to say about this. And of course, we'll look beyond the slick ads and shiny watch faces to see what's really going on in the world of wearable tech. And let me tell you, it's not all fitness goals and fancy wristbands.
All right, Pratik, let's get the basic out of the way. What exactly is a smartwatch and why do people wear them? Is it for health, fashion, or just to show off to your friends?
So smartwatches are essentially mini computers on your wrist that do more than just telling the time. These devices can monitor everything from your heart rates to steps, calories to your sleep patterns, stress level, and believe it or not, in some cases they can also monitor how much water you're drinking. And get this, the WHO has acknowledged that these wearables can help people manage chronic conditions and live healthier lifestyle. Now, from a techie's perspective, this is amazing to see how these gadgets blend the concept of gamification with fitness. It's just like winning a gold medal. It's just in the fitness Olympic, not the real Olympics. Now, that sounds pretty great, right? But are there any downsides to being constantly monitored by this mini computer on your wrist?
Well, as much as I love tech, here's where things get a little tricky. Firstly, there's the issue of data accuracy. These devices collect a ton of data, but how accurate that data is? A smartwatch might tell you that you have hit 10,000 steps, but how accurate is that? Sometimes a smartwatch reading can be as reliable as a broken clock. And also, WHO raises a good point. This data needs to be validated against clinically proven methods before it can be used to make any medical decision. So while your smartwatch might tell you that your heart rate is 80 beats per minute, 150 beats per minute, you might want to double check that with an actual health professional before you start Googling your heart attack symptoms. Secondly, there's information overload. The constant flow of health data, heart rate, sleep quality, calories burned, steps taken. For some, this constant data stream turns into a stress stream, resulting into unnecessary anxiety. You know the classic, doc, I just checked my watch. My heart rate is high. Should I really be panicking? In fact, I might know a software engineer who's gone through this.
Pretty much the genesis of this podcast.
Compulsive checking is also a big issue. People check their devices so often, it becomes a habit, and not a good one.
It's like refreshing your social media feed, expecting something new.
Yes, but adjust your heart rate all over again. And then there is good old misinterpreting the data. Let's just say if you panic every time your heart rate spikes, you'll be living in a constant state of anxiety and fear, even if it's just because you went up a flight of stairs. But Pratik, tell me, what's your take on the authenticity of these watches?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not all devices are created equal. Even amongst the well-known brands, there is variance between how they measure things and what are the results they produce.
Maybe we should do a video comparing some of those well-known brands and see what do we get.
Ooh, I love that idea. We should definitely do the video. But going back to the authenticity question, I think the biggest concern here is there's a lot of counterfeit smartwatches flooding the market, and some of them are about as reliable as a paper umbrella in a storm.
Have you seen any such watch?
Yes, embarrassingly enough, I did experiment with one of such watches. I bought it off Amazon on a great deal.
And how did that go?
I would say it worked in the context of what's called working, because even when I was not wearing it, it was showing my heart rate, fluctuating heart rate. It's like you being monitored by a ghost. Now imagine the anxiety this could cause, right? Especially if you don't understand what these numbers mean. Speaking of, have we seen any real world data on this?
Yes, we actually have. We conducted an informal survey with a group of doctors in Victoria. We asked them about the impact of smartwatches on their patient anxiety. And most of these doctors are GPs like me who are on the front of patient care.
And what were some of the questions in this survey?
We kept it very simple, asking things like, have you encountered a patient where their anxiety was linked to the smartwatch? How often have you seen these patients in the last 12 months? And what was your specialty?
Curious to hear what were some of the findings in this survey.
Definitely, the results were very interesting. More than 50% of the doctors had said that they had encountered patients whose anxiety was linked to the smartwatch use. In fact, 20% of those doctors had seen over 5 presentations of smartwatch use anxiety in the last 12 months. It was interesting to see how many doctors had experienced this and how it's becoming more of an issue.
Very interesting. And I'm sure there's tons of research done on this. What have you seen in terms of studies and articles?
Definitely. One that comes to my mind is a study in Journal of American Heart Association. It tells the story of a woman who did 916 ECGs on one calendar year on a smartwatch. And guess what? She developed health anxiety. Her smartwatch became her worst enemy, even though there was no medical issue.
But then the concerns are not just from doctors, right? Haven't we seen there's a media article on this?
The Guardian recently published an article called "The Bot Asked Me 4 times a day how I was feeling." It explores how tracking everything could actually be making us more anxious and not less.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how something designed to help us can ironically make things worse. Technology is supposed to give us peace of mind, but sometimes it gives us more reasons to worry.
So, does this mean wearable tech is bad for us? Are we all doomed to a life of tech-induced anxiety?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? My response to that is no. Like most things in life, balance is key. Wearables can be fantastic tool when used properly. But if we start obsessing over every little number and constantly comparing our metrics to some ideal standard, that's when the problem starts. You should think of your smartwatch as a motivator, not a monitor. Speaking of which, didn't a recent study find that wearables are great for getting kids to move, but not so great for making them mini athletes?
Yes. The study showed that while these trackers help kids take more steps, they didn't really influence more intense physical activity. So they're great for walking, but not for running a 5K. Conclusion, they will get kids moving, but don't expect them to break any speed records.
Well, at least they're moving more. No one is winning Olympic gold, but hey, a step is a step.
That's very true. And for those who are curious, you can read more about this Lancet article in our show notes.
So far we've covered both sides of smartwatch story, the good, the bad, and the slightly anxious bit. These gadgets are meant to help us, like your digital health buddy. Just don't let them become your new obsession. But don't worry, we are not done yet. In our next episode, we'll dive deeper into the market trends, how big is the wearable tech industry. We'll look at what the manufacturers are actually promising us and how to separate the fact from the flashy fiction.
Let me just remind you all again, it's important to see a health professional whenever you are concerned. But hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you again in our next episode where we take a closer look at what's really going on in the world of wearables. Until then, stay healthy, stay curious, and maybe take a break from your checking your device from every 5 minutes.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pickle Insights Life Unlocked. Because who doesn't love unlocking life with a side of humor?